Raising children is not for the faint of heart, and this is certainly true when it comes to welcoming children from troubled homes into your home. Neal and Kristie Bahro have been associated with the Alabama Foster Program as they have provided a loving shelter for kids in troubled times, leading to their adoption of one of these children. Their experiences show the highs and lows of fostering, and in this interview, they share their story. And for full disclosure, they are my sister and brother-in-law.
It's where Christianity and culture meet. This is the intersection of faith and Maine. Now, here's Greg Chandler.
Kristie and Neal, thanks for being on the podcast today. And just to let everybody know a little bit about you, how many years have you been married?
19.
19 years, and you have 2 naturally born daughters, and they are how old these days?
The oldest is 14, and her sister is 11.
All right. And I've noticed you seem to have located in a very quiet and tranquil location today, so I'm assuming...
This is not our house.
I'm assuming the rest of the family isn't around today.
They are
Correct.
Well, this season on our podcast, we're talking about pro-life issues and the difference between just being anti-abortion versus being pro-life. And certainly the two of you have gone above and beyond on this. You decided some years ago to get involved in the Alabama foster care program. How long have you been doing that?
6 or 7 years.
More like 7.
Yeah, and so I'm kind of springing this on you cold, but do you remember right offhand how many children have come through your house?
We tried to count the other day, and it's 12 or so we've had. Not a whole lot. They've ended up staying longer.
Yeah, so many of these long-term stays. And I know you've told me before that they would fill your house up if you would consent to taking in the kids.
We could hang them from the ceiling in hammocks if we wanted to.
But just for full disclosure, you don't do that, right?
We do not do that, no.
So let's kind of back up 6 or 7 years ago. What was it that kind of got you interested in being a part of the foster program?
I've always wanted to foster. Even before we got married, I wanted to do that. And then we got married, and I dragged Neal on board, and he's been 100% on board with it.
Sound like a good idea to help children.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what kind of training did you have to go through to come on board and to be, I guess, an approved home is what they would call it?
They do a 10-week training with DHR. I think there are some other agencies that offer it too, but it's a couple of hours a night, one night a week for 10 weeks. And you've also got to get CPR training and water safety training.
Your house has to be approved, have fire extinguishers and be safe, medication out of locked away and such things as that.
Very doable, though, practical things. And so for the training, were both of you required to attend those sessions, or could one of you go and tell the other about it?
If there is an adult in the home, they're required to do the training. We even took Ivy this time, and she's done the CPR and the water safety too. But I think they require all the adults in the home to have the training. Okay,
and so that gets you certified, and they look at your house, and then once you're approved, I guess that's when the calls start coming.
Yes.
So that first call that you got, how'd you feel? How'd you react when you were no longer rehearsing, that you were on now?
At first, it was exciting because we had waited several weeks to get that first call. It took a while. And then we got the first child in our home, and it's like, oh my, we're completely responsible for this other human. And we know nothing about her. She knows nothing about us, and we've got to take care of her. And she was a little bit older. It was a learning curve.
So now, Neal, I think all but one of the kids has been female, correct?
Correct. All but two. The one little boy was very, very, we had him very briefly.
So how's it been being so outnumbered in your own house?
A challenge. It's okay. I guess I'm used to it. Just have to find my quiet place once in a while and do my dad things.
Yeah, so you've learned how the female mind works anyway through all this.
Yes, for sure.
So let's talk a little bit about the kids that have come through. So you've had a variety of children. When you first started this, did you have any kind of expectation of the stories that you would be involved in, the situations you would see?
I did not really. Did you?
I think we were both pretty naive. Just some of these you could make movies out of. Lifetime could make some killer movies out of some of the stories that these kids have lived. And I think I was not prepared for that.
No.
So how did you prepare? How did you get used to dealing with this as they came through?
You just deal with it as it comes through. When the baby cries all night because they're coming off of some drug, you just do it. And we are part of the foster association, and that has helped tremendously because these other moms have seen it and they have advice, and they have, hey, you can call this counselor. Hey, you can call this person. And that's been the most helpful thing.
Yes.
So this is kind of like a network to support newer people coming in, or all of you are just continuing to support each other?
All of us, ideally, it would be all of us coming to support each other. But it really helps for new people that are coming into care.
Yes.
Now, of course, we're dealing with just one foster system here, the Alabama system, but I think likely most states would share commonalities with that. What's it been like working with them? Has that been an easy thing, challenging thing?
Challenging, I'd say.
It's been challenging. It's a state agency, so it's not geared toward an individual child.
No, it's they have these in charge of these children, and we provide a home for them, but they are, it's a lot less personal with them. It's it's very by the book, and it's an actual child that needs a home to live in, but they have to handle the children with their rules. So
DHR is like the parent, and we're the home that the parent's using to keep their child. And they have different goals than we have, and then the biological parents have, and sometimes it all just gets into a big tangled mess.
And I imagine, like a lot of government programs, they're probably somewhat understaffed and have difficulty just managing the vast number of kids.
Yes, and there's so much burnout with the workers, and there's a lot of turnover, and they're stressed, and they've got more than they can handle. But that's just another reason to do it. These kids are at the mercy of the state of Alabama. And if you think about that for a few minutes, it will give you nightmares. Imagine if Governor Ivey was in charge of telling you where you were sleeping at night, or where you were going to get your next meal, or who you were going to live with. It's terrifying.
And so that's the need for people to get active and involved in this, to give the kids that stability, for sure.
And a buffer, just to be a buffer.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, we've kind of focused a little bit on the negative side. Let's go to the positive. So you've seen, obviously, some horrific things and heard the stories, but have there been some fun times with these kids as they've come through and their interactions with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
The little boy, we still like to keep up with him. He's not at our house anymore, but he's probably all of our favorite.
Yes.
Just a lot of personality. He's real sweet.
Yes. Just the children are just fun, especially certain ages. We have 3 and 4 year olds in our house now, and it's just, I don't know, as you get older, you might lose a little bit of fun in life, and they actually bring back a lot of, 4-year-old fun that our older girls are fun as well, but just in different, different
just
ages,
different stage.
A lot of fun, excitement.
Well, let's use that for a bit of a transition then, because you're not only foster parents, you're adoptive parents now. One of these children, you, if I remember correctly, was there and then was not and then was back again and is now a permanent fixture in your home. And another one, I know we have to be a little general about details and such, but possibly another adoption. Was this anything you expected to happen when you joined the foster program?
Not at all.
No, we did not go into it to adopt. We just wanted to foster.
Yes.
But you start making connections and you bond with these kids. And the little girl that we've adopted, we bonded with her family. And we still keep up with her biological dad and her aunt and some other family in the community. And she wasn't the one who was with us and left, but her brother was. And when he came back with a sister.
Huh.
And there was just not really any other choice but that she was going to stay with us when she came back.
And so that seems to have been a good adjustment, that she seems so much happier now and seems comfortable with y'all. Would you agree with that?
Oh,
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. So she
She's
seems
very
just like
comfortable.
a natural part of the family now, for sure.
Yes.
Well, that's tremendous. And I think it just shows how sometimes life throws you some curves you weren't expecting, but can certainly turn out very well. So thinking about that, you obviously went into this with more than just, oh, this is a great thing to do. I think both of you had kind of a spiritual mindset toward this as well. So as you've had all these children come through and you've adopted a child, what's that done for you spiritually? How has it helped you to grow?
It's increased. I'm sure all of us, our prayer life has increased and gotten better, stronger with God, to God. One of the girls mentioned that her prayer life is stronger from having these foster children and adopted children.
Because when you hit the road bump, sometimes there is nothing else you can do but just hit your knees and pray. That's all that's left. And it's
And certainly what you're doing has likely been an answer to somebody's prayer, I would think, in taking in these kids. So let's talk about your older two for just a minute. I think for a lot of teenage girls, there could be some resentment that people are coming into their home and stealing the spotlight, so to speak. But I don't think that's been the case. How have they reacted, both in attitude and as well as helping you out with this? What's kind of been their response to these kids coming through?
They have been fabulous. We tried to get them on board from the beginning, and they were so excited before we ever got the first child. And they've not lost any of that. They take these kids under their wing and show them around and kind of act like second mamas to them. It's been wonderful.
They're very kind to them, and they realize that they need to live with us for a while or a period of time, and they just seem to, as Kristie said, they just help them out, just really bond with them.
And I'm sure there's some complaining that goes on behind closed doors, but they seem to have taken up the extra workload and are very helpful. So you've mentioned how that's helped their prayer life, but I suspect it's also helped them to see the need for helping other people, to take a very proactive role in that.
Yes.
It has, and we don't have a problem with them being entitled or not grateful. They seem extra thankful for everything. They've seen what these kids come without, and they can't go home and they can't see mom and dad. And I think it's made them a lot more thankful for what they've got.
Yeah. Yes. Well, that's very, very important and so good. So let me ask you this. What if there's somebody who's tuned in to the podcast and they're hearing this and they're thinking, that's something I want to do, but I just don't think I can. I just don't know if I've got it to be a foster parent. What would you tell them?
I would say don't overthink it. If I can do it, if I can hit this straight up learning curve and learn how to do it, anybody can do it. And if they absolutely just can't, then there's other things to do to help. But if they're at all interested, I would so encourage them to get into it because it is so necessary. There are kids tonight who will be sleeping at the DHR building because they don't have enough foster beds for these kids to go home.
That is so sad.
Yes.
So let's take what the statement you just made. Maybe there is somebody and they said, I've got a very valid reason. I can't do this, but I want to help. So kind of go down that road for a minute. What are some things that someone could do to help out the foster program or foster families?
They could, my first thing is they can, I mean, if you know them, if they're in your circle or whatever, they could babysit a little bit. It would really help because you take in these children, and obviously it takes, quite a bit of time, and you have other kids and such. So that would really be a helpful thing to just to offer a little bit of time to maybe sit with kids or, just help out babysitting, I guess is my first one I would think of.
One of the nicest things that somebody did for us, we knew we were getting a couple of placements, and a group at church gave us a Pizza Hut gift card that was good for several nights of food that we did not have to think about cooking. We could get these kids settled. They could get food that they were used to eating. They didn't have to get used to my cooking. They could just get a pizza. And that was pretty fantastic.
That was very good.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is, it's just think practically. So you've got a family, all of a sudden you got a new family member coming in. You didn't have 9 months warning on this one. You might have had 2 hours warning that this family's coming in. And so you just turn it around and say, what would I want someone to do for me?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really good. And you mentioned you found support with other Christians, and that's really good. So let's turn it just a little bit. And are there ever times good-meaning people say things that maybe would be better left unsaid to foster families?
My particular pet peeve is, I couldn't do it. I would just get too attached. Then you need to be doing it. If you're going to get attached to these kids, they need it so bad. They need somebody to get attached. And if you really get attached to them, odds are you're going to get attached to their families too. And so many times their moms, the biological mom or dad, needs a mom or dad too. And you become part of their support system. And if it works like it should, the kid goes back home with their family the way God intended. And you may be a lifelong support for that family. If you're going to get too attached, I don't know what to say. I don't know how you can say, I don't want to take this child because I would just love them too much. So sorry.
So it's more of turning it around and thinking not so much about, okay, how is this impacting me, but how can I impact somebody else? Which is the whole story of the Bible, right? The whole story of the Sermon on the Mount, for sure. So you've obviously had and are having this very good impact on kids, and you're growing spiritually from it. And so, again, if you could just say to somebody, okay, this is why you need to do it, as we close off here, what would kind of be the 10-second soundbite that you would give for saying, this is why you need to foster a child?
This is when you can quote your passage in James, the pure and undefiled religion. These may not technically be orphans, but they are absolutely powerless. They're not going to be able to thank you, or you're not going to get an award for helping these kids. but they need it so bad, and their families need it so bad.
Yes. They need a nice, comfortable place to live, children. And Jesus did say, James 1:27, pure and undefiled religion for God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. So we try our best.
So James has given us a soundbite already then for why this program is so good. Well, thank you so much for the good work that you're doing and continue to do. And I know that there's likely more kids coming into your house in the next few years as you continue with this, and just really appreciate the good that you've done and appreciate you being with us on the podcast today.
Thank you.
So this is Greg Chandler coming to you from the intersection of Faith and Main.
Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and visit our website at faithandmainpodcast.com.